Blog Talk Radio.
Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. This is the Choppin It Up Show, brought to you by the Marching Podcast and Blog Talk Radio. I'm your official Marching Podcast announcer, David Thompson, and here's your host, the Phantom Podcaster himself, Joe Beard.
All right, good evening and welcome to Choppin It Up. I'm your host, Joe Beard, and happy to be of service for you tonight. Today is February 12th, 2013, 8:30 on the West Coast and 11:30 on the East Coast, and we appreciate you listening tonight. Tonight we chop it up with Maleta Wilson. Maleta Wilson is the founder of the HBCU Campus Tours. HBCU Campus Tours is a great tour that sends youth from the western region of the country to have the black college experience down south. The westernmost HBCUs that we have in the country are in Texas, and it is important to try to bring the experience to the West Coast for those minority youths and for all youths west of the Mississippi, continuing on past Texas. And Maleta, we really appreciate her. And we're proud to say that Maleta has created this bridge. I met Maleta. Maleta is a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, and I met her through one of my chapter meetings, that is the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated meetings. I think her chapter was pubbing the frat games. So it's like some chapters out here play basketball games against each other, and I think she was pubbing the event. I met her that night. She told me she was from the South. She later then said she went to Bethune-Cookman. She was in the band, and like I always say, the rest is history, and we've been in contact ever since. So tonight we're going to talk to Maleta. Tonight's show is brought to you by Liquid Effects Photography, and let's hear from the Liquid Effects Photography now.
Are you thinking of tying the knot, having a party, or celebrating that special time in your life? To capture these special moments, call Liquid Effects Photography and take advantage of our 10 years of quality and experience. Liquid Effects Photography covers most of the Midwestern U.S. and will travel even farther on request. Call us at 773-454-5556. That's 773-454-5556. Or check out our website, liquideffects.com. That's LIQUIDEFFEX.com. Come experience the uniqueness of Liquid Effects Photography.
Okay, thanks to Liquid Effects Photography for sponsoring our show tonight. Tonight is a podcast, so you will not be able to call in, but you will be able to contact the show at marchingpodcast@gmail.com, tweet us at marchingpodcast, and follow our blog, blog4.themarchingpodcast.com. So without further ado, let's chop it up with Maleta Wilson. You're now here with the Marching Podcast, and we are here with Maleta Wilson. What's going on, Maleta?
Hey, Joe. Nothing much. Beautiful Saturday here in Southern California.
I know. I really appreciate the time and really excited. You know, when I was putting the podcast together, I knew you were one of the first people I wanted to talk to, so I'm glad I finally got your time. So let's get right into it. Where are you from, Maleta?
I was actually born and raised in a small little country city, as I say, Fort Myers, Florida.
Okay, Fort Myers. Okay, I think Deion Sanders, is from Fort Myers, isn't he?
Yes, Deion. We actually went to the same high school, and he graduated a year before I did.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. That's all right. That's really good to know. Now, in Florida, Florida's big-time band central. Everybody knows that. Were you a part of any ensembles when you were in high school?
No, I wasn't a part of the ensembles per se, just a member of the band. By ensembles, you mean, the different sections?
Yeah, or any any like the concert band, the marching band, or?
Yeah, our band was like one. So once we finished with, marching season, then we went into concert season.
Oh, okay.
So we didn't have like, the different sections.
Well, that's pretty cool. That's really exciting, especially in that area. Now, did you guys have a rival? Did you guys have a rival in high school?
We did have a rival. Our school rival I graduated from North Fort Myers High School. Our rival was Fort Myers High School. But as far as marching, that particular Laley High School, I don't know if you've ever heard of them out of Naples. They were a show band, and every time they came, we played them because we marched military style.
Uh-huh.
It was just like, okay, do we really have to perform today?
Right.
So, yeah, but as far as school rivals, that would be Fort Myers High School.
Okay, that's really cool. So, after you've done your battles and you worked all hard and got through high school, what made you pick Bethune-Cookman?
Well, I didn't pick Bethune-Cookman. I think Bethune-Cookman picked me. I actually started off at the University of Florida, because I didn't really I didn't feel like my path was geared towards an HBCU.
Okay.
And so I went to the University of Florida. I was on scholarship, but I wasn't in the band. And then after, and I can be real honest about this, after 4 semesters, I actually had to leave the University of Florida because I had such a great time that I forgot to find the balance of academics and social life. Mm-hmm. So, and my dad told me that I was going to Bethune-Cookman, or either I was coming back home, getting a job, and going to the JC. So that's why I say Bethune-Cookman picked me.
Right. Well, that's all right. That's interesting. So, coming from Florida, and that's actually, it's really important about our development as far as like developing the contrast. You went to both schools. What was the difference between the two?
Well, the University of Florida was not. I don't want people to think that it was too hard for me. That's why I didn't succeed. It just wasn't for me. It was a larger school. My class settings were larger. I had a class with 1,000 students,
wow.
And I can remember the professor, asking us if we had questions. And, I doubt very seriously I was going to raise my hand in front of 1,000 students, and ask a question. And then if I wanted to really ask a question, I had to wait until his office hours. So, that was hard for me. And then when I went to Bethune-Cookman, we had smaller class settings, and my instructors, we were very intimate, intimate in the sense that they knew me by name. They invited us over to their houses, for Christmas, Thanksgiving. We had meetings there, pertaining to school, things like that. So it was a more intimate setting for me.
Yeah, I definitely I could vouch for that. Going to Jackson State, I remember, our professors being very concerned,
right.
about what we were doing. So other than just class, we had a lot of other meetings or settings where we could, go hang out with the professor and eat, of course. So that was the main thing, because everybody's like starving in college, so they pull you in with some type of food, some type of pizza party or something. So that's really cool. Now, you were a part of the band. Now, did you march when you were at Florida, or did you march when you were at Bethune?
I marched at Bethune. I had no interest in joining the band at the University of Florida. The band was the last thing on my mind.
Right.
Yeah, but I marched at Bethune, and even though I think the best, the interesting part about it, even though, I left Florida on academic probation, I got to Bethune, and I was still able to acquire a marching scholarship.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and then after my first semester at Bethune, of course, my dad threatened me that if I didn't get anything, if I didn't make all A's and B's that I was coming home. So I also then acquired academic scholarship. That was even after, leaving on academic probation from Florida.
Wow, that's outstanding. So what was your major when you went to Bethune-Cookman? Did you have the same major at Florida that you had at Bethune-Cookman?
No, I actually, when I started at Florida, I started off as a computer informational sciences major, and then changed to criminal justice. And then when I got to Bethune, I continued with criminal justice. Okay, that's pretty cool. Now, why did you pick criminal justice? Did you have like dreams or aspirations of working in the criminal justice field? Exactly, I did. And I actually did after I graduated. I worked almost 10 years in law enforcement.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You didn't know that, did you?
No. No, I didn't. That's actually really funny. So I want to get into that. So let me go right back real fast. You marched at Bethune. Now what did you play when you marched there?
Well, all throughout middle school and high school, my instrument was the clarinet, bass clarinet. But then when I got to Cookman, because the fingering is the same, I switched to the saxophone.
Oh, wow. Okay. Now, what was your first experience of a show band? What was it, high school that you had the experience of like all the show bands and whatnot?
I think my first experience, my parents used to take me to the Florida Classic every year, the weekend just before Thanksgiving. But back then it was in Tampa. It wasn't in Orlando. And so, I think that really heightened, my awareness to the show bands. Yeah,
that's because I know in St. Louis we have the Gateway City Classic. But that's the good thing about those classics. It gives some of us a little bit of exposure from state to state that we have. We're going in there now. What was your best memory from marching when you were there at Cookman?
I think, actually, I have two. I think my very first show, going out into that stadium, and it was overwhelming. It's one thing to sit in the stands and watch it, but it's another to actually be on the field and have everyone watching you. And I think the relationships that I formed, with my crab brothers and sisters. And again, I didn't come in as a traditional crab. I came in, as pretty much almost a junior.
Mm-hmm.
And so just forming those relationships with my freshman crab brothers and sisters was priceless. And we're still friends to this day.
Yeah, I mean, I can vouch for that as well. Just piggybacking on more of what you're saying. McFadden was my roommate in college, and he's the resident brass instructor. And Chris Jones. Chris Jones was the drum major when I was at Johnson C. Smith, and he was the drum major at Jackson State when I was in both places. So I've kept up with them and others over the years. But you're right, it's priceless. It really is. So after you graduated from Bethune-Cookman, what was the first job that you did?
I was a deputy sheriff in Lee County, Florida. A deputy sheriff. I did that. I also worked for the Capitol Police as well, the state Capitol Police. So, those were my two law enforcement jobs, and I did both of those almost up to about 10 years before before actually opening the bookstore.
Wow, you opened a bookstore. Now, where did you open a bookstore?
I had one bookstore in Florida, in Fort Myers, and then I opened one here in California.
Wow. So when did you make the move from Florida to California?
I moved out here in, 2004?
Okay.
Yeah, so I've been here for a little bit.
Yeah, I've been here since 2006, so, around the same time. I haven't been out here that long. Now, did you move out here for your job?
No, I moved out, and how do I say this the politically correct way? As you're from, about the South.
Yeah.
And, we have there's that Southern mentality, and I wanted something different for my girls, and I wanted them to be able to, if they needed to move someplace else, not be so comfortable. I hope I'm saying this right. Not be so comfortable that, you know what, I don't want to go anywhere, I'm going to stay here. But if the opportunity presented themselves and they were able to move away, that they would have that comfortableness. I wanted them to have an openness about just life, and not be kind of stagnant, if that makes sense.
Oh, I could definitely, I know exactly what you're talking about, but not without, going it. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's because it's really important. I think that a lot of us, we definitely have to step out of our shell,
right.
Especially in our community, as far as thinking one way. Like all of us think a certain way. It's definitely
right.
we definitely need to break out of that.
Right. And don't get me wrong. And I know you understand what I'm saying. Is that I talk about this all the time. Is that we had communities way back when, and we were very supportive of each other. But that first opportunity we had to break camp, we lost our sense of community. And I support, my community, but at the same time, I want to be diverse enough that if I need to go and work in Connecticut, I understand the climate there as opposed to just the southern climate.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. I mean, definitely, because we need to know how to operate. We need to follow our audience, but we need to operate in all avenues.
Exactly.
Because that was really what was important for me, and just going to a black college was just being around all African Americans in an educational environment. It just really helped me out. It made me more well rounded. So no matter where I was in the country or in the world. I'm always thinking about Jackson State and, making my mark and just being pride. So definitely a sense of pride. So rolling into the HBCUs, I wanted to talk about all the work you do in the community, because you do a lot, and that's why I wanted to talk to you. So when did you start with HBCU Tours?
I actually started after I finished at Bethune. I started doing the tours through Delta, the local alumni chapter back home. And then after probably 2000, when I opened the bookstore, then I started doing the tours there as well, more or less on my own. So I've been doing tours a little over 20 years.
So you started the tour, not started the tour, but you were doing the tour setting back in Florida?
Yeah, I did. I was doing tours in Florida, and then came here, and I would go around to the schools and talk about our owning the Black bookstore. People would call me during Black History Month to talk about some of our notable Black historians, and so then I talk about the HBCUs, and so then there became this this culture like, we want to go, and I only knew of one company at the time that was doing it out of L.A., and so I said, well, there's a need out here in the Inland Empire, and so I started my first tour out here, I believe it was in 2005, 2006, and it was probably like 7 students, and we didn't have enough for a van, so myself and a couple of other chaperones flew over to the East Coast, rented 2 vans, and we literally drove the students up and down the coast to the schools. And Joe, I tell you, after that tour, I said, if we don't have enough students, I will never drive this again. Never. It was hard. It was very hard.
Wow, that's something. So, wow, you said 22 years, you say? 20?
Yeah, almost 20. I did it. I graduated in, I'm just going to put it out here, 91. And so I started doing the tours in 92 through my sorority, but then I started doing them through the bookstore in 2000.
Okay. And it's really cool that, you're doing it out here, because that's kind of how I started doing this, because I think there should be a louder voice about attending Black schools out here in California, because there's not a disconnect, I don't think, but I think that they don't have that. They don't grow up with that same exposure that I think that it's important.
Yeah, and I always tell parents, I said, even if your child doesn't want to go on the tour, send them anyway, because it's been my experience, once they get on this tour and they experience the HBCU experience, they're going to want to go. They're going to want to attend an HBCU, but the most important thing at the end of the day, even if they don't want to go or it's not an option for them, they at least have choices.
Right.
So that's important to me, that they have choices and opportunities.
Right. And speaking of opportunities, I want to roll into the next thing, and that's CAP, and that's California African American Parents. Is that correct?
No, and I do that too. It's Council of African American Parents.
Okay, all right. Council of African American Parents. Now, when did you start working with the Council of African American Parents?
I think it's probably been about maybe 4 or 5 years. One of the founders and now president, Ingrid Johnson, used to ask me to come in and talk to the students about historical black colleges and universities. And then I became a CAP parent. My oldest, who is a junior at Hampton University, she was a CAP scholar. And so then my youngest daughter is also now a CAP scholar. Okay.
Now, could you talk about what exactly is CAP?
Basically, CAP is like it's a college-bound program where the students are learning about their academic choices, getting their academic resumes together. We have recruiters, admissions directors come in, speak to the students about the requirements. There's a junior-senior workshop that the students go to every Sunday on the campus of Cal State Fullerton, and they put together their academic portfolios, start applying, and then for the students that are sophomores on down, and I believe the youngest we had last year was maybe 4th grade, every 2 weeks that we meet on Sundays, they have different academic components that they work on, building up their academic resumes.
Wow, that's outstanding. So, so they're pretty much they're treated like scholars. I think that's what's really important. I actually helped one time, and I was a judge at a oratorical contest.
Yes.
That they had, and I remember everyone they referred to all the students as scholars. Scholars, yes. Pay attention or listen up. Just hearing that at that age, I think that prepares them for college, because I wasn't ready at a younger age to say I was a scholar. Do you know what I mean?
Right, and we think it makes a difference to have the students around like-minded people. Mm-hmm. It encourages them to want better and to want to do better. Right.
That's outstanding. What is the best part of CAP, and what is the best part of HBCU Tours?
For CAP, for me, the best part is working with the students. And at the end of the year, we have a closing ceremony where the students are awarded scholarships. And each of the students, especially the graduating seniors, have to tell which school they're attending. And so that just brings so much joy to me to see that we're moving in the right direction. And as far as HBCU Campus Tours, this is my passion. I love what I do. I love working with the young people, and seeing their faces when we hit this campus, especially the ones who don't want to go on the tour. When we hit this campus and they see students that look like them, moving and doing, achieving, and then most importantly, when they get accepted on the spot.
Yeah.
That is priceless.
Yeah, that is really cool. That was, I guess that was my thing, all the little the little out of town high school things we would show up on college campus and fit right in. That was the best part. It makes me smile. So we're getting to the end of the interview, and it went by kind of fast. I wanted to talk to you a little bit more, but what has been your most memorable experience just being out here in California and doing what you're doing? Because most of our listeners, if you are from the South or back East, the educational climate out here on the West Coast is not the same, So if it's not the same for everyone, it's definitely not the same for black people. Could you talk about if you had a most memorable experience, either CAP or HBCU tours, since you've been out here in California?
I think one of my most memorable experiences, one of my my pride and joy is one of my students, Michael. And Michael attended a school out in the Inland Empire, had not been exposed to HBCUs. His mom was very concerned, because one of his track coaches was pushing him towards a JC, and she had heard about my organization and wanted him to go on this tour. He was reluctant, so he went his junior year. He was hooked. And the best part about it for me was Michael was a band student, very talented, played multiple instruments, drums, he was gifted. And so he came back on the tour his senior year, and Michael got accepted to, I believe it was 8 out of the 10 colleges that we attended, tried out for each of the bands, and was he was presented scholarships, band scholarships. But I think the highlight for me was when he got accepted to Bethune-Cookman and became a marching Wildcat. He was the first. He was my first, and I just so appreciated him.
I mean, that's actually a really outstanding story. As far as speaking of the bands, Bethune-Cookman right now is one of the top bands. I mean, cream of the crop top bands right now.
Yes.
It's been lonely at the tops coming from the sonic boom of the South. But yes, Bethune-Cookman is the bomb. I have to give you just mad props. I mean, they sound great. They're complete, and they play Norfolk State today, I think.
Yeah. I am excited for the band program. It's growing, and just the leadership for the band has really come in. I was under Dr. Bray, and he has since passed away within the last couple of years, but the leadership is just phenomenal in what they're doing with the band program and the level that they're taking it to. And so I know they've done a lot of cleaning up, for lack of a better term, as far as, some of the climate of the traditions that you and I are accustomed to.
Yeah.
So, I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, you should. I mean, because they are the bomb. I'm predicting that they're not going to have any problems with Norfolk. I've seen Norfolk so far this year, and I guess they're rebuilding, so to speak. But I guess we'll save that for the show tomorrow. But in closing, I want to give you the time to tell our listeners how they can get involved with HBCU tours and how they can get involved with the CAP program as well.
The CAP program has a website, councilofafricanamericanparents.org. So you can definitely log into that and get more information on that. As far as HBCU Campus Tours, definitely feel free to reach out to us at 909-466-4228. Again, that number is 909-466-4228. We need more HBCU graduates to join us to go around and do presentations on HBCUs, what they offer. We still keep hearing, do we need to have HBCUs? Of course. So we just need more to get out and, represent, especially the alum.
Okay, we'll definitely make sure we do that. So you guys hit that contact information. Are there any future plans or any upcoming events for you or for CAP or the HBCU tours?
I know that with CAP, that information is on the website. I've actually been traveling for my job, so I couldn't tell you, right now what the latest is. For HBCU Campus Tours, I just finished with a presentation for Phi Beta Sigma and Zeta Phi Beta for their scholarship. But as far as our tours, we're hoping to get our tours started for the spring of 2013, and then for the fall of 2013.
Okay, well, we'll be excited, and we'll definitely make sure that we make something happen being out here with the Marching Podcast in California. But I really appreciate your time, Maleta. It's been great to meet you, and I'm really excited about, helping support you and your cause out here in California.
Well, thank you so much, and like I told you before, I appreciate all that you're doing, and I'm still waiting on that drum clinic, too.
Yes, matter of fact, I'm really excited to say we now have James Riles III. He is the owner of ATL Drum Academy. He is now our resident woodshedding percussion instructor. So you can check out him every first Thursday, getting information about drums and percussion, but also we have the information to contact him about doing lessons and about helping the youth out through percussion. So we're really excited. I'm glad you told me that, because that was the next thing I was going to holler at you about when we finished taping. So
okay, good deal. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, and thanks a lot, Maleta.
Okay, you take it easy.
Okay, you too.
Bye-bye.
All right, you're now back up top with the Marching Podcast. Really appreciate Maleta, and it was great talking to her. We have an amendment there to the last part of the interview. Our resident percussion instructor is Carrie Cox. James Riles was who we originally had, and when we talked to Maleta, and we couldn't edit that part out. So, that's an amendment. Our official percussion instructor is Carrie Cox. But we appreciate talking to Maleta. We're glad that we chopped it up with Maleta, courtesy of Liquid Effects Photography. And we'll hear from them one more last time before we sign off.
Are you thinking of tying the knot, having a party, or celebrating that special time in your life? To capture these special moments, call Liquid Effects Photography and take advantage of our 10 years of quality and experience. Liquid Effects Photography covers most of the Midwestern U.S. and will travel even farther on request. Call us at 773-454-5556. That's 773-454-5556. Or check out our website, liquideffects.com. That's LIQUIDEFFEX.com. Come experience the uniqueness of Liquid Effects Photography.
All right, we're back up here, and before we sign off, we want to thank Liquid Effects. We want to thank Maleta. We want to thank Blog Talk Radio, and thanks for everyone for listening. We really appreciate everything you've done with us. The show is growing, and we're definitely getting some good positive vibes, and we really appreciate all you're doing. The more people that we're reaching out to, we also want to say shout out to Burt Wright. We've actually got over 1,000 hits with his show about life insurance. So that's outstanding. So that's all we have time for the show tonight. We want to thank God first and foremost. We want to thank you for listening. Check out the website at www.themarchingpodcast.com. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter. Thanks to you for listening. And remember, the eye is a better pupil and more willing than the ear. Advice may be misleading, but examples are always clear. See you next time.